Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally, and you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks. Welcome back for another friendly episode of Finally Clicked.
It's not friendly. I'm fired up. Might be an unfriendly
With Margaret
episode.
Smith and Jesse D. Moore. Jesse, thank you for being here today.
You're so pleasant sounding.
Well, you know, it's going to be a fiery episode, so I thought I'd start us off with a little gentle, intro.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Happy post-Christmas.
Yes, thank goodness. I did a
Happy
heel.
to be on the flip side.
I did a heel click today.
Did you? Just
got
like
out
Dorothy?
of bed. You know those romantic comedies where they're like,
I know
it's
all
a
of them very
spring
well.
day
Yeah.
and the birds are
People
singing
dancing.
in the trees and the window's slightly open and you just
Yeah.
got out of the shower and everything's
Very Mary
fresh and bright
Poppins-esque.
and your coffee. You see
Yeah.
another shot of the coffee coming out of the
Yeah.
espresso machine and
Yeah.
and now the foam and it's all to get and then your homemade breakfast right in front of you.
Did that happen this morning for you?
I'm just saying that post Christmas, that's how I feel.
Oh. I have to say, I scheduled a massage for myself yesterday, the day after Christmas. I was feeling so good. I agree with you. It was like the Christmas was over, and I love Christmas. I love the Christmas season, but I think I was ready for the new year. And so I got that massage, and I got this was a lady I hadn't seen before at my massage place. I left that place feeling like I just was like a new human. It was unbelievable.
Well, it's so funny because you say, I love Christmas, but then you took your tree down, yesterday?
Oh, yes. I'm very
The
efficient.
day after Christmas?
Yes.
You obviously don't have kids because when you have kids, this stuff lasts a
You want to leave it up?
minute.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm so glad to be at work.
Well, even as a kid, I was this way. It was like when something's over, I think I don't like anything to lag. And this is also why I'm a good admin, because I'm like, fresh start, boom, let's do it. And so within 2 hours, my house was clean. The trees are outside. I literally threw them over the side of my house, which I love doing too. So
do you
felt good.
when you get out of a relationship, do you burn all the handwritten notes and all the...
I have before.
Wow.
I've learned not to, because now I regret not being able to look back at them. But from college, yeah, I totally burned Jonathan Hackett.
You're so tragic.
I'm very tragic, for sure. There's a tragic part of me, for sure. But now I wish I had them that I could look back, because they were pretty darn cute.
Really?
Yeah, they were darling. Yeah. He wrote to me when I was gone on a vacation once. I was like, God.
You know what?
To
That
be in
reminds
love
me.
like
I
that.
had so many pen pals when I was growing up because there's nothing to do in Montana.
You had pen pals?
Oh, I had lots.
From where?
Mostly from camp, like summer camp.
Okay.
Like
You didn't
some
find them
girl-
online somewhere?
Some girl I took a fancy to. He'd talk not at all at camp, and then we'd trade addresses, and then
Oh, God.
we'd become best friends.
That reminds me.
There was this girl, Christy Fisher.
Christy with an I?
Yep.
Ooh.
How'd you know that? K too.
Okay.
And she looked like Winnie Cooper
Oh, okay.
from the Wonder Years.
Duh, that's going to happen.
And I was in 5th grade, so 12 years old, right? 11, 12. You're turning.
10.
Well, 10 is 4th grade.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh. I was
Because
always
my son
older.
is in 5th grade. He just
Okay.
turned 11. So
Okay.
around 11, I might have been 12, but I went to summer camp, and this is the first girl I liked. We held
Oh,
hands.
God.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
What do you mean?
How'd you make that happen?
Thankfully, I was not scared. When it came to girls and relationships, I was not really.
Yeah.
I had a lot of confidence talking to girls because of, some things that happened in my childhood. But
You just reminded me of, speaking of pen pals, after I left college sophomore year, I got a letter that summer from a guy that had been in a class with me, and he was expressing his love for me, and I was like, oh no, this is not good. It's not happening. I never wrote him back. I never acknowledged it. I feel kind of bad again now. But he was a baby face kind of guy, and didn't look like he was that old.
you just weren't attracted to
No,
him.
I wasn't attracted to him. But it was a very sweet note.
that is something we're dealing with Selah
really?
right now. Is
Oh, is she getting it boys
we're teaching her how to let boys
Oh
down.
my God, it's so hard. If she can learn that now, God bless her, because I still have a hard time with it. It's like you have to learn how to do it.
No, it's not easy for sure, and people don't talk about it.
No, they don't
And
at
so,
all. Yeah.
one thing
That's actually a really good topic for
we've
teens.
been good about is like, hey, tell us these awkward situations so that we can help you.
Good.
And so we're basically like, okay, you're not into them, but it's fun and it's exciting and it feels good. And you're like, so we talk her through that. And then we're like, okay, in this day and age where if you say the wrong thing to a kid, it could really damage them for life.
For a long time.
Or they become bullies, or you know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
after effects of that could be
You
monumental.
have to figure out how to let them down softly.
So it's been kind of fun to teach Selah how to respond.
What have you said? Can you give an example of something you've said of how to let them down?
Well, I think, I
'Cause
mean,
you also
I don't
don't
know
wanna
if I
lead them
said it or
on.
if Jill said it,
Yeah.
but it's just, to be nice and say I'm flattered and thank you and I appreciate it, and use us as a scapegoat if you want.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed. My parents don't allow
There
me
you go.
to date.
Perfect. Yes. Yeah.
No problem.
I still say that to this day.
Or just say,
I'm so sorry my parents aren't allowing me to date right now. I'm 38, but that's how it goes.
Yeah. So.
Oh, no, that's a huge topic. I love that you guys are talking about it, because you're right. People don't, because it's awkward and it's some kind of hard. And so those are exactly the things you need to talk about.
So anyway, I'm glad Christmas is over. That's what we're wrapping up.
But your kids want the tree up.
For a little while.
Yeah.
Right? Because probably until January 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
Usually is when it comes
Well, and
down.
you have a fake tree.
I mean,
Because I had
don't
two
tell
real
the
ones.
tree.
I had two real ones, and so there's also
the
risk of
needles.
fire and stuff,
Yeah.
and they were pretty dry.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved having them, but I also love.
You didn't love having them because they are gone now.
Well, I enjoyed them for the 4 weeks I had them. Yeah.
That's good.
But now I'm enjoying. I love my house so much. God, I just sat in the middle of the living room floor last night and just said, "I love you" to my house.
You know why you love your house that much?
Why?
Because you have more control than I do.
Oh,
I love my house, but I don't love it as much as I could because I live with 4 other people. I love my house the most when I'm alone in it,
that's true. It's true.
and it's just been clean.
Yeah, I don't have a roommate for a couple
favorite
weeks.
thing. This is my favorite thing to do. Is to look at the calendar. I'll tell you, I'm doing this today. So it's post Christmas, right?
Uh-huh.
Disaster area. Our house was a disaster.
Yeah.
Braden got a gift. It was a old retro Nintendo handheld gaming device.
Cool.
In his fervor for unwrapping all the presents, lost the charging cable.
Oh no.
It was a disaster zone. There was paper and boxes and presents, and in all of that lake of garbage, he lost the charging cable.
Yeah.
And he had to go through every
Everything.
box, and still didn't find it. He was so consumed with unwrapping presents that even on something that he cared the most about,
Yeah.
he just cast it aside to get to the next one.
Oh God. Did you ever end up finding it?
I don't think he did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
We heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very emotional time for him. Which leads us to the topic of today's podcast, the gift of struggle.
Perfect segue there.
I think our listeners should know by now that we read a couple chapters of a book every week as a team. This most recent book is called The Gift of Struggle, Life-Changing Lessons About Leading by Bobby Herrera, who is CEO of the Populous Group. Populous Group manages HR for temporary employees for large companies. And they do about $500 million annually in revenue.
Wow, look at you. You looked
It's a
that up.
big company.
Oh,
Oh, he says it.
okay.
And I'm the one that generally chooses the books, mainly because I don't mind people being upset with me if they don't like them. And
Well, and also you just have a knack for it, I'd say.
So I thought this would be a good one to, you hear about failure a lot in business and how to embrace failure and run towards it. And I think there are just times in life where things are hard. And I thought I'd get a book that talked about it and see if we learned any life lessons. So on today's podcast, I am fired out of a cannon because I have a file that's been a nightmare, and it's supposed to close today, and it's may not close today. And my phone is on, and if I get a phone call, I'm taking it. So this could be an interactive experience.
I love that.
We'll see how that goes. And I'm fired up because I just want people to do their job. I do mine. Can everyone else please do theirs? And so that's my struggle today. My struggle is that I'm waiting on people to do what's expected of them, despite us having to do more than our fair share. Mm-hmm. And I came to you today and I said I'm struggling with this book a little bit in that I don't agree with the title. I think the title is
Struggling
misleading.
About the Gift of Struggle. The struggle.
So we'll get into it. And you're going to talk me through. You're going to make... You know what this is going to be like a little bit?
Huh.
It's going to be like a KPA validation.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're going to make this 100% right.
Okay.
Okay? We're going to go through here and we're going to take the words we don't like and modify them and change them to where I can then
Accept
say,
it.
you know what? This is a good book for this reason.
Okay.
And it's not that I'm saying this is a bad book. It's not a bad book.
Yeah.
I am just weird about books.
Well, you're very literal with
very
words.
literal.
Yeah.
And when people say one thing and mean another, it bothers
drives you crazy.
me. But we'll get into it. What did you think of this book?
I really liked it because I think for the longest time, and I think I've mentioned this before, I really like efficient and to the point pieces of literature when it comes to business or ideas or research. I don't like people that are writers that take 20 to 30 pages to say something when it could be said in 2. And I've felt this way for a long time, all the way back to when my mom was teaching me to sew. Because sewing instructions, if you've ever looked at them, are ridiculous. And I always told my mom, I think I'm going to make a buttload of money and just rewrite all the sewing instructions, which now sounds so incredibly boring. But they were just bad. They were way too long. And so this...
Oh, what do? I rewrite sewing instructions.
For the millions of people.
What would that... I'm trying to think of a sexy title for that. I'm a sewing...
You're going to have to think about that one for a while because it's going to take a minute.
You're going to be a re-engineer.
Let me just put a button on it.
It's going to be a re-engineer.
A re-engineer. I like it. So what I liked about this was that there are some really specific messages, and he tied them to personal stories. And so it's a 3-part book. And in part 1, we talked about this in our team meeting, the bus scene, and how
right
on the bus he basically is gifted something by someone who just said, like, in the future, you will do this for someone else. You will help someone.
Let's tell the story.
Give some
a little
context.
bit.
Yeah.
Yes, you're just like fast forwarding through
you know how I
most
roll.
important story in the entire book. So, Bobby Herrera, the author, his family immigrated from Mexico, using they did so legally through a special program called the Bracero program, which allowed laborers into the United States from Mexico between 1942 and 1964. So his father brought the family into the States. They were extremely poor, but because he was basically doing day labor or farming, harvesting type work, which doesn't pay a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And the boys, he and his brother were in school. I'm trying to remember if it was for athletics.
Yes, athletics. They were traveling for
football or something.
Football or basketball, yeah.
So they're traveling for football, and then the other teammates would all get together and eat lunch
Yeah, on the road.
On the road, because they would have some money to go eat at McDonald's or wherever. And Bobby and his brother always just stayed on the bus because they didn't have money to afford to eat with the team. So they would pack a lunch and eat on the bus by themselves. And one day, I think the coach saw them.
It was one of the parents, actually.
Oh, one of the parents.
Just a parent, a random parent.
One of the parents saw that these boys were staying on the bus and eating because they couldn't afford to pay for food. And so one of the other parents came on the bus, talked to them, and then said, I want you to have this shared experience with your teammates. I'm going to pay for your lunch or your dinner. And it was a big deal to them because they understood the social impact it would have. They weren't used to this generosity. So that was effective for them. And so he builds this book off of this story. Basically, his is a, first generation immigrant from Mexico making it, who had nothing, who built a $500 million company.
Yeah.
And I will say this about the book and about the author. You can read books from CEOs of $500 million companies, and there's a lot of self-praise. There's a lot of, I'm great, here's why. He's very humble. Like, throughout this book, he's talking about his failures, he's talking about his struggles, and then, he talks about the upside of that, but it's not all upside. This whole thing is very vulnerable, I would say.
Well, then he added, after that bus incident, he told that story, and then in the next part goes on to talk about the magic of the story, and how one of his principles for his company is, we believe everyone deserves an opportunity to succeed. And so I loved his talking about a story and how important that is as a leader within a company and also just within life, which is part of the reason I think I connected it with social media, because it's all storytelling. And if you have a story to tell, people will pay attention. And it's kind of it's the best way to communicate, I think, to not only employees, but to your clients and to people that you want to get a message to them. Which is why I think I love the podcast too, because it's giving people a chance to get to know you and I on a different level.
Well, I think about Corinne Wynn out of Arizona as well, who has a highly, just crazy successful
story.
Business.
Yeah.
But then she has a very crazy origin story. Like, man, it changes a lot of, but it's curious. She never told me that story until after I knew her for 5 or 6 years. So she doesn't lead with it, right?
Yeah.
And whereas this author, he tells this story of being on the bus one time, and everyone's like, tell that story.
Yeah.
And now that's become his staple, right? Is to if he talks in front of people, he talks about his origin story. And now,
well, it's a way to build compassion and empathy, and I think that's one of the reasons why I love asking questions, is because I realized at a young age, if I saw two people on opposing sides, like say they were fighting or something, whether it be family or in school, I realized it was because one of the kids or one of the adults didn't understand the why behind why the person on the other side was arguing for this, or why they were hurt, or why they were angry, and they never asked the question. So if you don't know why, how can you ever come to an understanding? And so I think I learned that at a really early age, which is why I always ask questions, because if you can prompt someone to tell their story, they're going to get more grace and compassion. And so I think that's what I love about this book the most, is that he had no awareness around that. He didn't realize that if he told his story, it would actually help people follow him and understand the why behind why he wanted to do what he did.
Well, and I relate to that. I think you've always pressed me to tell my story to the team, and I've always kind of taken a half step back and said, why? I don't know that I need to be that vulnerable. And I understand it as a leader. You want to appear strong and confident, and I don't know. I don't want to say you don't want to appear weak, but you don't want to appear weak or vulnerable sometimes, and you want to feel like you know what to do and what's going on, and so, and my past is my past, and I don't have control over it, and so sometimes it seems a little self-aggrandizing for me to share my story, whatever that may be.
That goes back to Brene Brown's whole theme of vulnerability is power.
Right.
Because actually, when you told me your story, in pieces when I started, it did nothing more but give me more compassion and grace for you. Because I knew when there were moments of anger or moments of reaction that it wasn't you. Again, I've said that before on the podcast. And I think that's what I've always wanted everybody else to know, is I want them to understand the why behind why you've worked so hard and done all this personal development and built this business. And there's reasons for it. And it's important for people to know that.
All right. So I would say that this follows a very simple format. The format is he tells some sort of personal story or anecdote. He then relates that to his business. So he tells a parallel story, business story, and then he follows that up with like a flash forward is what he calls it, which is like a afternote to these stories. And they're short. It's super easy to read. It's broken up into 3 parts. We read 1 part a week, which was 3 to 4 chapters.
Yep.
And so it took us no time to get through this book. Very simple, easy to read, easy to take in. As I reminded myself of the beginning of the book, I thought I'd talk about a few things. Specifically where he talked about kind of the point of the book. All right, so he says, it's a leader's responsibility to tell that story and to allow the narrative and its significance to work its magic and give greater meaning to the work people do. So that part I totally agree with. We did a client appreciation event last week, and it was challenging because I think we got about 5 inches of rain in 24 hours.
It was the most rain I think they said we'd seen. And
I remember like 8 years ago we had a similar storm, and it was like 5.25 inches in 24 hours, and it reminded me of that storm because it was insane. Like people think it rains in Seattle, but doesn't. This was nuts. Like we had rivers, lakes,
huge
everywhere.
accident on one of the highways that was people would have taken to our party.
The interstate was closed down.
Yeah.
This is not an ideal environment to throw a client appreciation event.
Not at all.
And so I'm, it is what it is. I'm out the money. In my head, right? I'm like, oh, all these people aren't going to show up. And you know what? It was a small group of people that were able to show up. But those people are core people.
Yeah.
And
my mom even made it, which for her is a big deal. On a dark, windy night with the rain
I know, your mom doesn't like to drive if it's not sunshine and rainbows.
No.
And so I got to thinking about, what I don't like about teams doing client appreciation events is doing them just for the sake of doing them.
Oh, yeah.
I hate that.
There's got to be intention.
And so what I like is being intentional about it. We invite the clients. I've said this before, and I didn't originate it, but people attracts like. So if you have a client that was a pain in the ass and didn't do anything right and was demanding and self-aggrandizing, they're going to hang out with people like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't want referrals from people like that.
No.
So I don't press them for referrals as much. But amazing clients that are awesome and trust us to do our job and don't take life too seriously, I want all of those clients. And so we invite what we want
more of
to manifest in our lives, in our business. We invite the clients that we know already embody that, and we continue to build relationship with them. And the people that were there,
it was hilarious.
The people that braved the weather to come to our event had a great time.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to use us again, and they're more likely to refer us to other people.
Oh, for sure. We definitely endeared ourselves if we hadn't already, like just getting to spend some personal time with them. And like I told several of them, I usually get to meet the clients. And so I had a great time meeting them, learning about all the interconnections, And it was, like you said, I felt like, I think you and I discussed this afterwards. It felt like us. It felt like our kind of event. And I haven't felt that in a long time. So, because we've done Pi Day giveaways and things like that, but this felt more like us. So I really liked it.
So my point is, if you do have a story to tell, just make sure you understand the intent of telling it.
Oh, sure,
right?
for sure.
And
You don't pull out your story at just any old time.
All right, guys, I have a toast.
Oh my gosh, no, yeah.
No, but I think intention is very important. I'm a big believer in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think if you're going to tell a story like this guy did, he tells that bus story, and because it now embodies a principle that's important to him,
mm-hmm.
which is everybody gets a shot.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that. I get that part.
Mm-hmm.
I think where this shows up for me in my life is everyone gets a second chance.
Yeah.
Everyone gets grace.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets,
You know what? I was going to ask Daniel, our investor specialist. He said this in a meeting. He talked about the difference between grace and mercy. And I have to ask him again what he said. But he said grace is given when not even deserved, I think. And then having mercy on someone is when it is deserved. Is that right?
No, I mean, mercy is when it's undeserved.
Okay. I'll have to ask him about that. It came to mind as you were talking.
Yeah, I remember. I know. I remember him saying that.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly.
And then it wasn't intention. I think along with me, intention was your word for the year too.
Yeah. And it was. I mean, I got intentional with my back and figuring it out.
Very much so about your health.
And I've been getting up at 5:15 three times a week for.
Do you have any idea
8
what your
weeks.
word might be for the next year? I haven't thought about mine yet.
You have thought about it.
Well, I mean, I've thought about it.
Story.
I'm thinking about it.
I saw you ask people what their word is,
I
and you can't tell me you didn't think about it.
Oh, okay, yes, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't decided on it yet. It might be courage.
Courage.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be exactness of words.
Shut it.
Accuracy.
Shut it.
All right. I'm going to pull this quote out. If you don't step up and tell the story that gives you identity and purpose, your people will be left on their own, trying to guess what matters to you and why.
Yeah.
Without fulfilling work, they will make assumptions about your mission or lack thereof and leave when they find a competitor who offers what you've withheld.
Mm-hmm. This one's a great one.
I can easily apply this to our business. I think everyone on the team knows everyone on the team knows my story, and they know I'm big on second chances.
Mm-hmm.
We joke about Jesse's Island of Misfit Toys.
Mm-hmm. No more.
Well, no more in that, but still with the principles still the same, which is just because you didn't get a fair shake at some time in your life doesn't mean that counts against you for whatever reason. And I also think about how people will, for instance, I know 2 stories in my life recently of business owners who let pride get in the way or ego get in the way, or they didn't pay someone enough money, or they didn't tell them that they were appreciated enough. And now they're in kind of bad situations because people are leaving them. And then when I think about, like, we had a conversation about productivity. This season is hard for me. I like to be productive. I like to know we can make money. And between Thanksgiving and Christmas is hard for me for that reason. And
when you had 2 conversations with people about that or about.
Oh, so then when I hear, so anyway, like around Christmas holiday, I could just give Christmas Day off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the legal expectation.
Mm-hmm.
But I also give Christmas Eve off and the day after Christmas off because those are important times. This is an important time to be with your family. And nothing's going to happen on Christmas Eve that's going to help our business that much.
Yeah.
And to be clear, nothing is going to happen at work that would make up for them not being with their family at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
that you create so much goodwill with people when you honor their family and their personal life and their time. And I expect that to pay dividends later in the year. And so I see people being cheap with either their money or with their time with their employees. And I don't understand it.
It's control. I mean, control makes people feel better. And so ultimately, I think that's what, when owners get into that kind of scarcity mindset, I see it time and time again, they just hold on tighter because they think, oh, if everybody's working on this day, we'll make that extra 10 grand we need to survive another month or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, it's just not the case. Because when you hold on to anything tighter, typically it slips away. So, but I think that's a hard lesson. I think people have to learn it, including myself. I mean, we all have to learn it. I went through a time where I thought more control would make everything better. It certainly doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't work with me. I know that.
No kind of control works with you. No.
No kind.
I gave up all control over you, thank God, years ago.
Yeah.
I loved one of these sections because there's been a lot of conversation around goals, as there always is this time of year, and people set out these vast goals to read mountains of books. And I've had this conversation with a couple different people in the admin community and just leadership community. But he says, if you want to be a wise leader someday, you must fiercely apply what you learn, and you must also be selective when choosing who you will study. And the people that want to read like 52 to 100 books in a year, I'm just like, are you going to really take in anything what are you going to do with what are you just going to keep it in your head and hope it all stays there and then do something with it? Like, I feel like people get so caught up in accomplishing a certain amount and not really realizing that you're not going to make an impact.
Yeah. I mean, that's the common thing I've heard is that instead of reading 12 books a year, read the same book 12 times in a row. And,
I've never done that yet.
Well, because we crave new
material,
things, right?
Yeah.
Like reading the same book. Fierce is...
I mean, we've read that one
I have
times.
books I read every year, once a year. Like Fierce is one. Leadership and Self-Deception is one. I used to read The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand once a year. I also would read Narcissus and Goldmund by Hermann Hesse once a year. Like, these are important books to me.
You would call that your Bible row, as he mentions in here, of books that you reread.
Yeah. I will appreciate that he basically talked about his business stalling out after 11 years of success and thriving. You know, things happen and cycles change, and they had a customer, one of their biggest customers was going to see a downturn in their business, and it affected them in a pretty big way. So this book is productive that way for those people that are looking for a new book. If you're looking for a book that doesn't talk about everything going perfectly, this is a good book because it does talk. He very much owns his struggles. And
I also think, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You should go and finish your thought.
It's gone. It's okay.
I was just going to say, I feel like specifically a lot of real estate agents should read this book if they're leaders, like if they have one employee or one agent that they work with that they consider part of their team, specifically because around the chapter where he talks about physical and verbal reactionary behavior, because that happens so often. And if people just adjusted and paid attention to what their body language is doing and their tone and everything, it would change so much of the interaction. Yeah. I swear to God, people on the other side, whether it be an agent or an admin, would come to the table for the conversation and not leave without saying anything about what went wrong. That was a chapter that I really appreciated just because you and I have done so much work in that area, both of us. But he mentions a meeting where one of his employees yells at another one and says, why don't you just tell him what you really think? And that's when he realized nobody was telling him the truth because they were afraid to. And I've heard that it happens over and over again. And I've literally spent probably, I would say 70% of the conversations I have with admin are literally encouraging them to speak up and say, hey, if he or she does yell at you, who cares? You're not going to die from it. You have a job to tell them. You actually have a job. Before you leave that job, your next job right now is to tell that person the truth. Yeah. But there's so much fear around.
So much of your coaching, when you coach people, is just like, do this thing you don't want to do.
You can do it. You don't want to do it, but I'm going to make you do it. And I said, and you will learn so much from it. And I promise you, if they are verbally abusive. I mean, and I've never heard of any being physically abusive, thank God. But if they are, you don't have to stay. But this is your job. In this moment, you were put before this person, I believe, in order to bring to them some attention as to how they're treating you and how they're treating other people. And because they may not even be intentional. They may not even be meaning to react a certain way. And they don't know. They just don't know. So I thought that chapter specifically, I would love to, I'm going to make note of this. And I might even just photocopy this one chapter and hand it to people, because I don't think people realize how much body language and tone and all of that affects their leadership style and their ability to keep people.
All right. I am going to talk about a problem I have with this book for a second.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I understand. And I think, listen, I'm sensitive to this. But so let's talk about it, I guess. So I think it's probably a difference in how we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a first generation immigrant, right? And or second. I'm not sure when he was born. I think he was born in the States. So and I don't understand his relationship with his father so much. But there's two things that happen in this book that are kind of odd to me. One is his father's dying, and Bobby has, plans. He didn't expect his dad to die. So he had plans, he had meetings, he had places he needed to be. And he kind of like cleared his schedule because his father was dying.
Yeah.
So he's going to go and be with his dad for the little time that he had left.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad, he had some sort of conflict. He had some sort of meeting or speaking engagement he was supposed to be
wedding.
at. A wedding.
Yeah, a wedding. That he was like, I don't need to go to this wedding.
Yeah, it's a wedding. And
wedding.
It was kind of like a not even an
My
important
dad's dying,
wedding,
or
right?
I go to this wedding.
And the dad wouldn't let him come because he had given his word that he would be at the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a hard line to draw.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the father, listen, you talk to my grandfather,
Yeah.
probably the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Where if you
hard,
give your word,
work,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You do what you say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so the father literally said, if you come, I won't see you. Don't come.
Yeah.
And so it happens, right? And this guy uses that as an example to keep your word. But I don't know if I agree.
And in that situation in particular, I
the
was
father,
like, I'd probably go see my dad.
The father hung on.
Yeah.
For him to get there.
Yeah. And it turns out, he ends up meeting his wife at the wedding. That was part of the story.
Right. Thank you for bringing us full circle. But it was hard for me.
I know what you mean, though.
It's always hard for me when I can't accept everything they say, 1,000%.
Yeah.
It makes it hard for me. And then the second thing that he does is he enlists in the army, which was his dad's goal. Mm-hmm. And he even said, I'm completing your goal.
Yeah.
I'm realizing your dream for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate that story.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when kids or people try to fulfill their parents' ambitions.
Yeah. I see it happen every day with people around me.
It took me most of my life to get out from under that.
Yeah.
And
it might be one of the
I'm
biggest
so
struggles humans have, actually, is not only parents realizing that you shouldn't have a child just to fulfill your goal, and then kids realizing it's not my job to fulfill their goal, and that it doesn't mean I don't love them less or anything. It might be one of the biggest struggles I've seen people have for the first half of their life, until they either decide to do something on their own or they kind of give up. It's a serious struggle, though. I see it in a lot of my friends and a lot of...
Okay.
Is this happening?
Is everybody ready?
Oh, Jesse's going to take a call right now. Oh,
I'm not going to play theirs. We have privacy issues here.
Oh, yeah.
This is Jesse. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I call you back in half an hour? Thank you. Thanks. Oh, that wasn't fun.
That was uneventful? What the heck?
That was my doctor's office. I thought it was going to be me being passionate with a escrow closer.
I was still looking forward to that. I think I
You're
just
not using
snorted.
that, by the way.
Oh, no, don't worry.
All right. So anyway, so he enlisted in the army to fulfill his dad's dreams. Mm-hmm. And listen, I think discipline's good. And I think if people want to sign up for the military, I think it's a good experience.
I've seen a lot of good things happen
for most
for people. Yeah.
So I'm not begrudging that. I just do it because you need discipline. Right? David Goggins did it because he needed to learn discipline.
Yeah.
And he did it for himself.
Yeah.
And I think it's weird whenever you do something to fulfill someone else's promise or dream.
Yeah.
But whatever.
People are humans are search for purpose. Like there's nobody's tomorrow. So it's an easy thing to take someone else's dream and make it your own, because then, boom, don't have to do the hard work of actually like looking within and figuring out for yourself. Like, so it makes a lot of sense to me. It's sad because when they get to the end of that journey, it's like, I don't think fulfillment's there or peace. What did you think specifically about, I loved this topic because, it was just about what we were just talking about this morning. Resourcefulness is courage. So on page 110, he talks about innovation and how he put people in place in his company, and then he expected them to kind of be like him and innovate and have the courage to try new things and realize they're going to fail. And then when he realized they weren't doing that, he was like, how do I make them do that? So he says, once you establish the idea that you are expecting innovation to improve even the smallest annoyance, every pain point in the company becomes an opportunity for exploration and improvement. And I think that's where I feel like my job is never over. It's never done. Anybody's job is never done because there's always something to improve on. And I've realized it's a pain point for me when I don't see that in another fellow employee.
Well, that's why I think our partnership works so well.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this again recently for a lot of different reasons. Part of it was going back to that money episode that we did recently,
Mm-hmm.
and how, you and I both sacrifice things for this company. I sacrifice money, you sacrifice time, and I like that our sacrifices are different, because I don't need, 10 of me would be insufferable. 2 of me would be insufferable, right? Like, and we'd be a very...
And I would take it, though, because we need a couple more use. We need more use.
We have a lot of sales.
I will take 10 of you, and I would totally handle 10 of you.
Oh, I don't know.
I would I'd probably die. I would probably die.
Would die.
But we would be hugely successful.
But I don't need 10 of me. As much as I need strong people in all of the areas I'm not strong.
Mm-hmm.
I need... And that's the thing that I want, and that's the thing that I go after.
Mm-hmm. But I like it reminded me too of that story that you tell about 3M and Google and how they have set playtime or like exploratory time, because that's what he talks about. Daily exploration is mandatory, not optional.
Well, so here's let's
aren't
talk
trained.
about this with us.
I was never trained to do that.
So yours is looking for inefficiencies and correcting them, right? Wouldn't you say?
As is
like your natural tendency that you wish other people embodied.
Oh, is to look for inefficiencies
and improve them.
Oh, I don't know.
How would you put it in words? What you just said,
Yeah.
where I thought I was saying it correctly. Where you see inefficiencies, you correct them, and then you expect other people to do the same thing.
Yes.
Is that true?
True. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mine would be problem solving.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm in it right now because...
And I feel strongly about that one, too.
I always look for a solution.
Yeah.
Don't come to me with a problem.
Yeah.
Come to me with solutions.
Yeah.
And I can't work with people that can't find their way out of a cardboard box.
Well, yeah. Amen. Like you're never going to get anywhere in life if you just accept the answer that's in front of you. And what you just said about problem solving and for me finding inefficiencies, I've realized that what makes a good admin is not someone who knows about all the different systems and knows how to work them. It's someone who understands a process. And that's what I've realized is what I've been teaching agents recently is process versus system. And when I explained it in a class this last year, I think I was in Vegas, one of the guys in the class, he like yelled out, he was like, "Oh my God, if that's the only thing I learned today, I'm happy to pay you more money." Because he said, I realized I've been thinking about it wrong. I've been thinking systems. And he said, no, I actually need someone who knows how to make a process with a system, because when you can't figure out the holes or the loops, then nothing gets better.
Real estate agents are great at this. They just think they can throw money at something.
Anything. Yeah.
And that's going to grow their business.
Yeah.
Top producer, throw money at it.
Yeah.
They don't use it.
Yeah. It'd be better to throw the money at your people and
throw money at it. Don't use it.
Yeah.
how many things do agents pay for that they never use?
I mean, probably 90% of what
right,
they do.
because they
pay
think
for.
systems are going to fix their problem.
Yeah.
And it's not that.
No.
They don't have someone designated to
who's actually
improve
good at that, or they
the
think
process.
they hire incorrectly around that. So, no, that's a good point. And the last thing that you and I have talked about that I wanted to mention was when people leave. He talks about celebrating when people leave as part of their journey. And that's been a point of growth for both of us. Like, I hate letting go of people. And we used to take it much more personal than we do.
I took it very personally at first. I don't like it when people leave before I'm ready for them to leave. And
why are you leaving now?
I used to have kind of this idea that, oh, if I just hired this person and they're going to stay with me forever. Mm-hmm. And I won't, because I was new at this, right? Mm-hmm. And I got lucky on the first few hires. Mm-hmm. And they did stay with me for 4+ years. Mm-hmm. And that was an anomaly, not a rule. And I've had to get better at letting people go. Yeah. At the same time, we've also gotten better at building people up to leave.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so, like, today we're having lunch with someone who used to be on our team. And we had to have a conversation about him leaving the team, not only for us, but for him. Mm-hmm. Like, he needed to spread his wings, and he needed to go do something different. And we were holding him back because his relationship with us was paramount. It was so important to him, to the point where I had to take that away in order for him to develop further. Mm-hmm. I think. I mean, that was how I was thinking.
No, I believe that.
And then I think about, so he has a letter from a former employee who left to start his own business. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the only thing this guy can't provide is starting your own business, right? Like, as a CEO, like, even for now, I think that's not totally true, because I think you want to start your own business, and I can help you incubate that, and I don't have to let you go to do that, right? This guy didn't do that, or hadn't gone that far, but
he, like, an employee, was very
effusive.
Very effusive. Oh, good word. Yes, very effusive and very grateful, because he mentioned, and that's what I love about it too. Like, Sarah Trotsky is another great example of this. She's so grateful for you and I, and for her time on Pickett Street. We are still friends, and she and I made a point of that, because she is not very good at keeping friends, like keeping in contact, maintaining, and she and I have been very purposeful about that. Going to a concert together, like touching base, things like that, and she will be forever grateful to us. Like, yeah.
Right. I lifted with her this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was just her and I in the gym. We did chest and biceps.
That's awesome.
I benched 305 pounds 5 times.
Oh, God, that's so much. Jeez.
Trying to get back up to where I was. But, yeah, and, we talked about it a little bit, in that, like, I'm asking her about her life, and is her time with Santi, does she get as much time, or the same amount of time, or less time, Yeah. And the reality is that she's where she's supposed to be, and we were a huge part of that journey with her, and I take a lot of pride in that. And anytime people leave, I want them to talk well about us and say they had a good experience.
Oh, for sure.
And being petty,
and be real,
and being, it just doesn't pay off in the long run.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
And I've had to learn that the hard way, for sure. But I've always been pretty accommodating. I think about one person in particular that used to be on our team, and she was leaving, and we threw her a little going away. And we should talk about this, because I do hate going away parties. I hate paying for, like, a going away party. Like, someone's leaving, let's take them out to lunch. I'm like, F them, They can pay for their own lunch.
This is why Margaret's in charge of it.
And I hate, I don't want to celebrate them leaving, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, we did this for this person, and she was kind of snotty to me and bratty to me. And she was like, she's like kind of needling me. And obviously she had something on her heart or her mind that she wanted to tell me, and she never done it.
Yeah.
And I just had to look at her and I go, did I not create this very unique space? She had very unique needs with her time and commute and everything. And we created a job for her that would work for her and her family. And I'm like, and then she's like in my face about other opportunities. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did we not create and fashion a job for you that totally matched your needs at the time and your family needs at the time? And then you didn't give me an opportunity to grow with you. Like, you didn't say, I'm ready, I want to change it up and do it something. I'm ready to work more hours. She just did it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so confused because I know how I feel about kids and family. And that was the situation. Is she had a child she wanted to spend more time with. She didn't want to work full time. We created a role for her that totally worked.
Yeah. And I think that's such a perfect example because I tell employees who join us, if they come to me about anything when they're just starting or when they're 6 months to a year down the road, I will always say, just so you know, if at any point you ever want to talk about anything around your job or moving forward or what that looks like in the future, you always come and speak with me and Jesse. Always. Because there's always, I always tell them the story about me because it's the best example I have myself. I've never worked anywhere else where changing my job description was an option and discussing it was an option. And so when someone does something like that, it's just a reminder to me that they're not a great fit because they don't realize that they can grow with us. Or it also reminds me of stories that I've heard from parents about kids like leaving the nest. Sometimes it's like you said, there was obviously something on her heart that she should have talked to you about and she didn't. And that's on her. And so it's almost like she was dirtying the nest in order to feel like she could just leave freely.
Right. Oh, no. People do that for sure. People do that in relationships,
I thought
too.
that was just kids, but no, apparently it's in companies,
like someone,
too.
Yeah, no. Yeah, for sure. It's like, it's like people who, like, cheat on their partner to end the relationship.
To get them to leave,
right?
yes.
Because they can't.
I hate that with such a passion.
Oh, it's passive aggressive times 1,000.
And believe me, I know there's a tendency in parts of my family for passive aggressive behavior, and so that's one of the things I really worked on in the first couple of years because I definitely was not used to talking and bringing things up with you. And when you can recognize it, then the next step is actually doing something about it. And so she didn't do anything about it, that girl. And it's amazing to me how many correlations there are between family and kids and
work,
companies and work,
and
real. Employees. It's weird.
Yeah,
and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
All right, so the gift of struggle. I would say
different title you'd like though.
I would like it. You had a good title.
The ambiguity of leadership.
The ambiguity of leadership. I like that title for this book better than the gift of struggle because I think a publisher chose the name of this book. I think
so
they
too.
thought it'd be sexy and people would buy it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're right because I bought it because of the title. I don't know if the content matches exactly, but I do think there are good lessons about leadership in here. I think he's humble and vulnerable and self-effacing, which is something I like in a leader and reading about leadership. And there's good anecdotes for sure. I don't think they're going to relate to everyone the same. Like that story of his dad dying is a little
this made me think of teams that are having a hard time. I know 3 different people right now that are trying to start their team reading, and they're having a really hard time getting everybody's buy-in. I think this book is an example of one that was simple, kind of nudge people in.
I don't understand this concept.
Well, neither do I, and so it's really hard for me to talk about because
it's like
it just makes.
Let's
I don't want to eat. I'm not going to eat today.
Right.
Okay.
No, if a teacher said, "Well, your son didn't wear clothes to school today," why? I don't know. He wouldn't listen to me. Are you kidding? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I actually think
your team won't read a book.
I think there's a leadership problem then.
They can't come to the meeting.
Yeah.
Period. It's just like kids.
Yeah.
You set an expectation. If they fail to meet it, there's a consequence. They chose the consequence by not meeting the expectation.
Yeah.
So la-di-da.
La-di-da.
Oh, and then you escalate from there.
Yeah.
Next time, the consequence is greater.
Yeah.
But they choose that over reading a book.
Yeah.
Eventually, they'll figure out that it's better to read a book than piss in their Wheaties.
Piss in their Wheaties. There's a team in our mastermind, admin mastermind, that the admin enforced an expectation that if they didn't submit their stats, they had to pay in $500. And so over
for one offense.
For one offense.
Jeez,
so over the
that's a
year,
little much.
they only raised $2,500. So the mistake was only made 5 times, and so they're going to Vegas with that money. I was like, wow, $500 is steep.
I want to see them.
The team agreed to it.
Man.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
Well, it's easy. Yeah, you have to set expectations and consequences to match, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it's important, then it'll be expensive.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good note, huh? If it's important in business, it'll be expensive.
I like that. Good quote.
Yeah.
Well, this was excellent.
I love it. This is Margaret. That's a new T-shirt, by the way. Well, this was excellent. That is, you say that every episode. Well, this was excellent.
I do. When I feel good about it, I just have to put it out there.
Oh, if I ever need a gold star, I'm just going to do a podcast with you. Pick me up. Jill jokes about that, but it's not that funny because it's true. It's like, I'm a words of affirmation guy, and she's not a words of affirmation girl. Like, it's not how she operates. Mm-hmm. And so she's like, go to work and get your love, get your adoration and your love. Get your words from those people.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And we got feedback on the podcast yesterday from somebody. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungry for this. Will you please tell me more. Tell me your thoughts.
Oh, it's so true. And it's a good thing to learn too. I'm not a words of affirmation person either, but I've learned to adapt a little bit because of what other people like you, what you need. And so it's like something you do have to adjust. I'm not, it's interesting. Words of affirmation is really interesting because I guess I just believe I want action so much more than I want words. But words are important to people.
Well, words are action. Saying something is an activity.
Oh God, that reminds me of I was listening to Maya Angelou on as I was walking Green Lake yesterday, and she said something that was beautiful. Her poetry is just amazing. She said, "Words are things." I was like, "Oh shit, I've never thought about that before. Word is an object." That's like, it reminded me of you. I was like, God, Jesse would love this.
I like how you've recognized that one of the greatest poets of American history was pretty good at what she did.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've always known that, but I haven't listened to a lot of her on podcasts and stuff like that. And she, it's different to hear
Have you
her,
read,
I guess.
I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings?
Mm-hmm. It's been a long time, but
that thing is it's amazing.
Yeah.
I
people that are creative like that just blow my mind. It's amazing how they paint a picture.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to be a writer.
What?
I mean, everything about my childhood and how I grew up and going to college, everything was everyone thought I was going to be a writer, like full time.
Did you think you were going to?
Yeah.
Did you want to?
I did until I went to college, and then that killed my desire. And when you take something, when you take artistry, creativity, and someone has natural ability in it, and then you force them into a machine, it just doesn't work. And my dad warned me and told me he wanted me to do film or business. And
film, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I don't know that I have regrets, but had I wanted to be a writer, that would be my regret.
Well, I think you're still going to be a writer.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. So
I think I want to be a writer too. Just not like you, but different.
Oh, okay. No, that's good.
I think it's a challenge. The idea of writing a book is kind of daunting to me. When I get a creative flow, which is really cool. Like I've written things for you before when you've won awards and things at the office. When I get in and it just comes out of me, I'm like, I know there's a piece of me on my mom's family, but my dad's side too, but my mom's family, artists all the way through. And so whenever I have a lot of emotion, it comes out actually in writing. And it's such a cool feeling when you're in that flow. But to write a whole book just seems daunting to me. Is it daunting to you?
I can't even write a letter. It's so daunting.
Huh.
I'm so impatient now.
Yeah.
that I can't even. Okay, writing longhand, forget about it.
I can barely
actually
write a
writing
thank you
letter,
card. Yeah.
Like if I ever write you a letter,
Yeah.
you
You
better.
know.
I love you so much. Like you
Yeah.
have no idea.
No, it's so true. Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my God,
This is
when
taking
is this going to be
forever.
over? I have so many thoughts I want to share, but my hand can't keep up with my brain.
Yeah.
To the point where even a computer at 80 words a minute,
So maybe you
I
would need
can't
something
keep
where you
up
could
with
just
my
speak it
brain.
out, and you could and it could
then
write it
I'd-
for you.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we're getting close to that.
Don't you already have something that does that?
Yeah, but I don't trust it. I'd have to edit everything.
Yeah, you would. Struggle's real.
Struggle's real. This is our last podcast of 2019.
If we want it to be.
I mean, are you gonna float out a moment unbeknownst to me?
A moment?
Are you gonna post a moment with Mo?
Only if you want me to.
No, I don't want you to.
Well, next week is New Year's, so I guess it depends on if we want to. What day we want to record
You want
on.
us to do it on a Monday or a Tuesday? What are the chances?
Or a Friday?
I'm not in the office on Monday.
Oh, Friday's your birthday.
I'm getting cortisone shots
Monday
in
you're
both
gone.
hips on Monday.
Oh, God. Yeah. We'll just leave it in the air. We'll see. We'll let the audience hang there in suspense.
I have to tell this story because I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
So Braden, Jill's son, is the most emotional kid we have for sure. And
We might have to have the kids on the podcast someday.
And
Be
he,
hysterical.
my son, when he came to us for Christmas from his mom's house, came with a fever. So, like a severe fever. But it didn't last long, about 36 hours, 48 tops. And Braden caught it as well yesterday.
Oh,
So
that's
it kind
too
of
bad.
came into being towards the end of Christmas Day. And then was in full force yesterday. And him and his mom are really bad patients. Like they just they get it cold and they're just they're very needy.
Down for the count.
Very needy. Anyway, Braden with the fever, he's just like, can you get me this? Can you carry me here? Can you carry me there? But you know what? I've learned to just kind of let it happen. I've just learned to be like, you know what? This doesn't happen very often.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants me to carry him, fine, I'll carry him. So I carried
Kind
him
of sweet.
upstairs to go to bed at 7:30 at night, and he didn't
Wow.
want to go to bed, and I'm like, I'll carry you, and he's like, okay.
Oh.
So I put him anyway. He went to bed, and then
How did you do that with your back, by the way?
I'm a big, strong dude.
Okay.
I just it's not smart for me. And my back's getting better, but if I can't carry a 90-pound kid upstairs, then I don't know. Check me into a home. But anyway, Jill's putting him to bed, and he's like, is Jesse gonna come upstairs and say goodnight?
Oh.
Because every night we go up and tuck the kids in and tell them
Yeah.
goodnight. But I'd already carried him upstairs, and he's sick, and I'm giving him and his mom time together, and I have my kids downstairs. And so she's like, no, probably not. We kind of already said goodnight and carried you up here. And can you carry me? So he goes, I need to tell him I love him.
Oh.
Will you carry me out? So the design of our house, the kids' bedrooms
Oh
are
my
upstairs.
God, that's amazing.
But there's a catwalk, a loft where
Yes.
they can look out into our great room. And so she has to carry him. Jill's 120 pounds, and he's 90 pounds, right? And so she had to carry him 25 feet to the door to look over the catwalk at us and say, good night, I love you.
Oh.
And then I had to put him to bed.
Oh my God, that's really cute
So
and
funny.
hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway. That's my story for I'm going to end 2019 on that story.
I like it.
Positive note.
Positive note. Perfect.
Not talking about this file. That's
I love it.
the worst file of all time.
I love it.
For everyone listening who thinks that I'll give you the bullet points of this file.
Okay.
12 months from initial contact to get on the market.
Like that 12 months.
Initially, we thought it was going to be 2 months. So 12 months to get on market. Sellers in Europe when I sell the house, like when we're negotiating the contract. Seller's ex-wife leans against the property so much so that he can't sell the house. We don't find out till after we're under contract. Seller has to take ex-wife to mediation. We have to extend closing. They have to have a legal mediation to figure out the terms. We get the legal mediation resolved. We're going to closing. Once every 8-year storm blows in on the week of closing, dumps 5 inches of rain in 24 hours. The roof leaks. We've already made concessions for the roof, but now the roof is actively leaking, which is now, are we closing at all?
Yeah.
We get through that part. Today it's supposed to close. The only thing that needs to happen is the ex-wife needs to review and sign, and should have done this days ago, and she's waiting till the last minute, and she's in escrow signing right now. Like, the deadline's noon, and it's 10 to noon, and she's signing now so that we can hopefully close on time. This business, I tell you what, we don't get paid enough money, to be clear.
Well, this is the behind-the-scenes stuff that people don't often get to
This file
hear.
aged me.
Did you? Age,
Took
yeah.
years off my life.
Oh, wow. Good Lord. Happy 2019.
Everyone. And to all, good night.